Hello and welcome to another art house movie review. This time I'm reviewing the film Godland, directed by Hlynur Pálmason. So this is the story of a Danish priest who's given the mission of crossing inhospitable parts of Iceland in order to supervise the building of a church in a remote town. He's given a crew of people to help him do this, including a guide and a translator. The guide is played by Hlynur Sigurdsson, who also worked with Pálmason on his film A White Day. He's really excellent in both these films. And in Godland, he plays a kind of mix of Quint from Jaws and the TV adventurer Bear Grylls. So the first thing to say about this film is that the cinematography is amazing. Of course, it's filmed in some incredible locations and many shots are just beautiful and gorgeous to look at. At times it's as good to look at as a National Geographic documentary. It's funny because it's filmed in Academy ratio, which is almost a square ratio, and given the vast expanses of some of the shots, it's an interesting contrast that it's all packed into quite a tight screen. But Lucas the priest is a photographer, so in some ways the format does resemble photos. And there were times during the film where it felt like I was looking at a slideshow or even a photo album. This is a very cold and wet film. You really feel that the characters always have wet shoes and wet clothes. And at one time the location is described as both beautiful and terrible. And this really makes sense when you're watching it. Although it is beautiful, the landscape is really harsh. There's no sense of any kind of spiritual transcendence in nature here. This is much more like going through hell. I love how patient Pálmason is with the camera sometimes. There's a very close shot where a fly lands on the eye of Lucas, and either this was just very lucky or there was real patience in sitting there waiting for this shot to occur. A common feature of Pálmason's films, which I really like, is that he uses a technique of shooting exactly the same shot multiple times with different weather and in different seasons. And he uses it in this film in a really great way with this decomposing horse. Some of the cinematography in this film is truly breathtaking. There's one shot where the camera is focused very far in the distance and the camera starts panning to the left, and as it pans it zooms out so that more and more of the foreground is coming in, and it's a really unbelievable shot because the camera keeps panning and panning and panning, and I don't know how close to 360 degrees it goes, but it must go almost completely a full turn, and we end up with an image of the villagers celebrating in the immediate foreground. It's a really stunning shot. And it just feels like an ordinary pan. There's no sense that the camera is completely circling. As I say, this really took my breath away. I also think the image of Lucas with the pack on his back and the tripods that almost look like rifles with bayonets. This is such a strong image that we have at several points in the film. And indeed, it's the image that's on the poster for the film, which definitely drew me to be interested in it. Now, this is a very slow film, and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it did feel like a bit of a slog to get through it. I looked at my watch after 1 hour and 20 minutes and realised there was an hour to go. And at that moment, I didn't feel like I was enjoying it enough to want to see another hour of it. Perhaps it is too long. But what I can say is that, like the films of Tarkovsky and Bergman, for example, which I can also find quite boring when I'm watching them, some of the impact of Godland is felt after seeing it, in the days following as I thought about the film. So in terms of immediate entertainment, this film was quite long, but in terms of a poetic experience, this film was amazing to experience in the moment, but it also definitely planted something which kept working on me afterwards, and I love it when a film does that. And I now feel that actually I could easily sit through Godland again because of all these great things that I've talked about. It does require a certain patient attitude, though, to really enjoy this film. So I see in some of the reviews that Lucas has been described as having a crisis of faith. And actually, I felt no sense of any faith in this film. The church is presented as gluttonous, arrogant, pompous and ruthless, both Lucas's boss and Lucas himself. This certainly isn't the type of priest we see in Bresson's Diary of a Country Priest or Schrader's First Reformed. Lucas kind of seems to be shut down and doesn't have any kind of spiritual connection with other characters or with the environment. And there's no sense of Lucas being a teacher. He's much more of a photographer in truth. He's always taking photos. He seems passionate about his photos. But he's not taking photos of the incredible scenery. All of his photos seem to be of people. So in some ways it was incidental that he was a priest. This felt more like Herzog's Fitzcarraldo, where someone's given an impossible and almost pointless task. I must say that I really like Pálmason's work. A White Day is a fantastic film, and his short film Nest, which is currently showing on Mubi in the UK, and it's only 20 minutes, is absolutely fantastic. And likewise, I did really enjoy Godland. I would highly recommend it, but I do think you need to be in a patient frame of mind to enjoy this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.